Coming up, Angela and I discuss the passing of Peter Mayhew, the actor who played Chewbacca in Star Wars. What did the Spider-Man trailer confirm that Endgame only teased? Loving Peter Parker, in a mom way. Getting a little verklempt with pretty much everyone else in the movie theater, and much more in this transmission of the original Anomaly podcast with Jen and Angela.
Anomaly. Something that deviates from what is standard, normal, or expected. An oddity, peculiarity, irregularity, inconsistency, incongruity, a rarity.
Hello and welcome to the Anomaly podcast. My name is Angela, and I actually thought at one moment that only my children and my marriage made me happier than a couple of times in Endgame, and I am an anomaly.
Hi, I'm Jen. I passionately defended the late, great Peter Mayhew to a coworker who said he was just some guy who played a hairy mammal. And I am an anomaly.
Why would someone say that?
He's a nice guy, he's just not a nerd. So he was at a total and complete loss to understand what the big deal was because it was all over Facebook. And he was like, what's the big deal? He just played some hairy mammal, right?
Oh my God. No, you know what though, is that somebody who really had no idea would just shut his damn mouth. I'm sorry, I'm like really upset about this.
I told you it would make you mad.
It does make me mad. Because my kid, actually cried when he found out. I did. Ugh. The problem is that there's these people who think they have to make fun of people for liking this stuff. And I feel like that's
I think
the problem.
His intention was to kind of tease us a little bit, but it was a little mean. It was a lot mean.
Read the room. Yeah, that's inconsiderate, man.
Obviously, he had never read anything about Peter Mayhew or the great things that he did. He used to work in a hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how he was discovered for movies because he was just really a big guy. And then George Lucas saw him in that movie. And he went to children's hospitals wearing the Chewbacca costume. He wrote children's books. He was just a big-hearted guy. The world's not as awesome without him in it. But let's get happy and talk about Endgame.
Oh, yeah, that'll make me so happy. No,
all right. Oh, there's a lot of sad points in the movie
there
we're going to be talking about today.
But it's not the same sort of rotting despair that the end of Infinity War was. Now, we never covered Infinity War.
No, we didn't. We need to go back and do that.
I know. I was thinking, too, we probably need to go back and cover all the ones we haven't covered and put it kind of in a timeline.
Yeah, I agree.
feel like that's something we need to do, but whatever. We can do this now, and then we'll just, whatever.
We decided that we will give you a non-spoiler review, which will be the shortest non-spoiler review we've ever done on Anomaly. Are you ready? You first.
I'm ready. Why don't you go first?
It was awesome.
It was really good.
The end.
The end. The end to the non-spoiler.
If you haven't seen it yet, go do that.
Just go see it.
Stop listening.
Yeah.
Unless you just want to have everything spoiled.
Today was the day that Marvel officially lifted the spoiler ban. You can't get in trouble for spoiling.
Because of the Spider-Man trailer.
Which was so good.
Right, it was good.
So that's interesting too, but we can talk about that after because there was something they said in there where they made a very specific statement that I think is very interesting that confirms something that Endgame teased but didn't say outright, but in the trailer for Spider-Man they said it outright. So anyway.
I think I missed that.
Oh
I
my
watched
gosh.
it with my nerd friends today.
Oh my gosh,
At
we
work.
watched it. Well, I watched it at work, but then we watched it on our big TV when we got home. So, oh no, it was so good. And I just, okay. So we're fully into spoiler territory.
We have to play the alert. And go.
Okay. Well, first of all, I cried pretty much through the whole movie out of some sort of despair or out of happiness, so happy that it was like my wedding day. I felt like this is a movie where they reached into my brain, a fan brain, right? And were like, oh, here's this thing you want to see. Here's this thing you'd like to see. It was like the opposite of watching a Star Wars movie. Sorry, Star Wars, we love you. You'll always be our first love. Okay, second, because we like Star Trek better. Just like 51-49, but still. But you know what I mean? So it was the exact opposite of that feeling where it's like, well, it was good, but this was like, yes, Yes!
I have never really been in a movie where people were standing up cheering.
Oh, yeah.
I was cheering along with them, and finally David reluctantly started cheering with me.
Well, you know what it's like to watch a movie with me. Yeah, I get very excited, and then the girl sitting next to Jim, because it was, of course, me, my husband, and some girl, and she was about our age, I guess. I didn't really talk to her or see her, but she was also like screaming and cheering, and both times, because I've seen it twice, there were times when I was like crying, like sobbing, like that. Like not the kind, because there was a couple moments where, you know, a couple tears, you know, like Jane Austen kind of tears rolled. But then there were times where I was just like,
I did not. I did have the Jane Austen tears. I don't know why I didn't have more reaction. I guess because I started to see it happening and I knew it was coming.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's still very exciting.
It was exciting, and I got into it big time. I loved every minute of it.
Okay,
and
so
where do we start? Start at the beginning.
Our heroes. So first of all, we went to Alamo Drafthouse. Where did y'all go? To the spot? So at Alamo Drafthouse, they always do that 30-minute video.
Yeah.
And they did this very cool, and you can actually find it online. And it's Alamo Drafthouse Life, Death Movies. It's a recap of all of the movies starting with Iron Man. At the end, when they were talking about, okay, what happened in Infinity War, like the very end, they're like, okay, well, Thanos got his wish and blah, blah, and we don't know where Hawkeye is. I'm sure he's fine, happy-go-lucky, nothing wrong there. And it's just all these pictures of Jeremy Renner smiling. And I'm like, oh, God. And so, of course, the first scene is just crushing with Hawkeye losing his whole family to the snap. There was so much of the movie was so quiet. Not like there were moments like you couldn't hear. There was just quiet moments. Like the beginning is Tony, you know, talking to Pepper on the little video thing. And him and Nebula are out in the middle of space. They're in the Milano, which is Star-Lord's ship. And they're just kind of adrift, and he's kind of sending his last hurrah. Everything is kind of lost and done for, and then Captain Marvel comes out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
And tows the Milano back to Earth. When Tony lands and sees Pepper, of course it's very happy, but the first thing he says is, I lost the kid.
Yeah.
Everything with Spider-Man makes me cry. I just want you to... It's...
You know, he is the first Spider-Man I have really connected with.
I like all of them,
but
for different
I like
reasons.
Tobey Maguire, but he just really nails this one. He's just a kid, and you just love him. You want to squeeze him.
You really do. You just want to hold him, and you just want to just give him a good meal. you just love him.
In a mom way.
No, I mean totally in a mom way. Honestly, for me, my 42-year-old self, no other way but mom way. I feel like Tony to him. You know, like
yes.
I understand why Tony fights so hard for him, because that's, I lost the kid. Like, what else can you say? And it's just so horrible. The remaining people are all very sad. It's almost like they give up. I mean, they give up, kind of. They don't really know what... they don't give up, because they go and they find Thanos, right? And he's actually destroyed the stones. They do get to cut his head off, which I think is very satisfying. It's not
Thor
like
did that, and it took a lot out of him after he did that too.
Yeah, that was very upsetting for Thor. But anyway, so like, I mean, I knew what some of the things were going to be. You know, let's be honest. We knew most of them were going to come back. We knew there was going to be a big battle. You know, we knew there might be some sacrifices. We kind of knew some of the beats that were going to happen in this movie. But there were some things that I was surprised by. And
yeah, me too.
One of them, and I knew also they were probably going to have to use time travel or some sort of like otherworldly something.
I thought it was going to have something to do with the quantum realm.
Which it does.
In some way, yeah.
But anyway, so like the idea that the Infinity Stones just disappeared. And so like we were, like for a second, it did feel like, what are we going to do? You know? Like it really did feel sort of, I don't know. It felt there's a lot of despair, and it was 5 years before anything happened, which is very sad and very depressing. And you can kind of feel everybody's just not doing well. Black Widow's keeping things together, but we're not here to do recap. We're here to do, commentary. So let's just jump around. What was your favorite part?
Seeing Thor's depression.
Oh my God, yeah.
I heard people coming out of the theater saying, you know, I really wish they hadn't kept him like that throughout the whole movie. But I think that just humanizes the character more. And it might even help some people identify with him more. And he still rocked that beer gut.
Yeah, even after...
And he looked like a legit Viking with his braided beard and... Yeah. But my favorite moments mostly have to do with Captain America because he's my favorite character. Right. Those are the moments that made me cry. And I think I was
That's
maybe
America's ass.
First, yes. But the moment when he caught Thor's hammer, I think I was the first to jump up and go, I knew it! Yes! Yes!
Oh, that was a very satisfying moment.
The pitching of the weapons back and forth, you know, while they were battling was just epic. I love the whole movie, but the one thing that bothered me, and it might, I suspect, be the same thing that bothers you, they really ramped us up to think that Captain Marvel was going to have a bigger part to play in this plot.
They did.
She did bring Tony home, and she did destroy a ship.
That was no small thing, but it was really sort of meh in the grand scheme, especially how they built her up.
Anticlimactic is what I would say.
I agree with you, and I still agree with you, but I felt a little bit better about it after I watched it a second time because I really studied the battle scene between her and Thanos. Every other person he fought without a gauntlet or without Infinity Stones. Every other person that he was fighting during all of that. And these are big bad guys, right? And every other superhero he was fighting during that time, there were only two people that almost hurt him, or that hurt him a little bit. Scarlet Witch, because his only choice when Scarlet Witch was after him was to rain fire. And I feel like that was an excellent thing because she had him by the balls. And that made me very happy. I'm sorry you're going to have to cut some of this. But you know what I mean? Like that's the first time you saw his eyes kind of go, oh crap. I can't do this. And the only reason he was able to even resist, well, first of all, I noticed in the second viewing that when he's kind of tussling with Captain Marvel with the gauntlet, first of all, he punches her and she doesn't even flinch. And he hits like her energy field and she just kind of looks at him like, yeah. And it's kind of an awesome moment. And that's when he takes the Tesseract, which is the Infinity Stone that created her, and punches her with it. Like, it's basically kryptonite for her.
I know. It wouldn't have been that great.
But I do wish that, with all of the extended fight scenes, I wish that they would have given her a little more.
That's what I mean. It wouldn't have been a great movie if she was the only one that saves the day, you know?
No, I agree.
Because I think that they built her up in Captain Marvel to be like the huge component of why you know that they're going to win.
Right.
But it wasn't as big as they made it feel like it was going to be, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was still good, though. And there's so much going on. I mean, think about this is 20 movies all coming into 22 movies or something. It's a lot to do. And if we gave her too much of a role, it would be like super Deus Ex Machina, you know, where it's like all of a sudden, oh, the super powerful being comes down and like now saves everyone. And that was one of the problems I had with Justice League. Here's Wonder Woman who's super powerful and all these people, and then they really can't actually do any harm until Superman magically wakes up and decides to fight. And I was like, come on, guys. Wonder Woman is literally a god.
She's the equivalent
to Thor in, you know, as far as the universes are concerned. So she should be able to, you know, and even in Batman versus Superman, she is really badass. In Justice League, all of a sudden, all of them together can't do the job of Superman. And that really annoyed me. So I'm kind of glad they didn't go that direction. It was also kind of anticlimactic. So.
Yes, it was.
I agree.
I loved her interplay with Spider-Man.
I know! I'm Peter Parker. Hi, Peter Parker. You have something for me? I just love the, like, office conversational tone. Do you got that memo for me?
It was more like a big sister.
He's so polite.
He was so polite, yes, but he's also starstruck.
Aw.
Just like we would be if we met any of them.
Well, yes, but also Spider-Man is probably one of the best superheroes, like, of all time. And that's what's even cooler about it, is that Spider-Man is equal parts. You know, he's kind of like an unintentional Hulk, right? Because he's super strong. He's super smart. Like he's like all the things. I don't know. I just love Spider-Man so much. And then Spider-Man in this particular movie is so great. Such emotional weight.
Yeah. There were a lot of, like I said, a lot of really great points in the movie. Mm-hmm. And another one was the girl power moment. The salute to the female superheroes was nice. It was just kind of like, this one's for you, ladies. And they all kind of get together as they're...
It's right after she gets the gauntlet from Spider-Man. And Spider-Man says something like, I don't know how you're going to get through there. And then one of them, I think it's Pepper, just says, don't worry, she's got help. And all of the women, Valkyrie, Wasp, everybody, they all just kind of come in, Gamora, whole thing. So cool.
Protecting the running back on a football team, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really awesome. So that was very cool. I thought Valkyrie was pretty awesome in just the battle in general. I mean, she becomes the leader of the Asgardians. That's right. Yeah. That's right. She's cool. She's a cool character.
Who doesn't make a reappearance but was in the movie is Loki.
Yeah, well, you saw what happened, right?
Yeah, he took off with the...
Well, but okay, that goes into something, and we'll talk about this at the end, because it goes into something that is in the Spider-Man trailer that I'll explain.
Ah, okay. But
yes. And that's another funny part that was in the recap from Alamo was the internet's boyfriend tries to take over the world. And I'm like, fair enough. I'll take that one.
You know, the one thing we have not brought up. I love you 3000.
Oh my God. Don't.
Thanks for listening to our show. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and tell your friends. Shouting about an episode on social media or sending a friend an email are great ways to share the love. But telling a friend isn't as easy as you might think, because a lot of people these days still don't know what a podcast is. Oh my gosh! You may just have to grab your friend's phone, download a podcast app, and then subscribe them to Anomaly and all of your favorite shows. Help spread the word about podcasting today by telling just one of your friends. Thanks again for listening and for subscribing to Anomaly.
Because she reminds me of my daughter. I think she probably reminds every single person of their daughter, but she looks a lot like Laura, and my husband and I were just like...
Shoot, I love the way he seems like the way Tony Stark would be if he was a dad.
Exactly.
Teasing her like,
go to sleep or I'll sell all your toys.
Sell all your toys.
But you could tell he loved her. I mean, he loves her.
Yeah.
And so this is another thing. And so this is like, I mean, tales of all the reasons I cried. Obviously, this is spoilers, so Tony does end up, sacrificing himself to save, the universe. And I caught it the second time through, that very specific wording, right? Right after he figures out how the time thing is going to work, he tells Pepper, and Pepper's like, well, what do you think? And he says, well, I could just get rid of it. I could just put it in a box and put it at the bottom of the lake. And then she just says, but could you rest? And then at the end, the last thing she says to him is, Tony, we're all safe. You can rest now. Those specific words. The other story about our travels to the movie theater was there was this big kind of almost Drax looking dude that sat next to me. And he was crying too.
Oh my gosh.
Like he was waterworksing as much as me.
Theater went, like the whole movie was
like it was emotional.
Well, I was just going to say, the whole time everyone's cheering and standing up and whooping, and then that moment at the end, you could have heard a pin drop. There wasn't any crunching popcorn. There was crying men.
Yeah. Oh,
and I could hear them all over the theater, and I could hear little kids. What happened to him? He died, honey, throughout the theater. And it just kind of added to the moment to hear that.
But before that, the reason I was already there, though, was because, and I'm sorry. Okay, so here's my criticism. I have several, but this is my one little criticism is that scene, right? I feel like the three of them attacking Thanos and Thanos throwing them off lasted too long, in my opinion. There's only so many times you can throw people off of you before it gets tiresome, and they have to come up with some kind of plan. There's three of them. One or two of them can distract him while the strongest one cuts off his head. Come on, it's not that difficult. You've already done it. So I thought that was a little like, overkill. And that was one of the things where it's like, why couldn't we use some of this time, like half of this time, to show a little bit of back and forth between him and Captain Marvel? But I'm not the person who made the movie, so I don't get to make those decisions. But the cool part was when Cap gets up after that last time and his shield is all broken and he like fastens it, and then you hear Nightwing. You hear Nightwing. And then you see all those. Not only do you know that everybody's okay, you start seeing the Time Guardians spells, and you start seeing everybody come through.
Yes. Aaron went berserk because Doctor Strange is his favorite, and
I didn't know that, but he's one of my favorites too.
He was so upset in the last movie, and when he saw those, he just went nuts. Oh my gosh, Mommy! Oh my gosh!
My heart was right now. My heart's beat. Like at that moment is when I lost it. I completely lost it at that moment, just crying, and then Mr. Stark, holy shit! Oh my God. And he said we had to go. It's been 5 years. We had to go. I mean, just he's so earnest. And then, of course, seeing Scarlet Witch and Black Panther. I mean, and Black Panther's little sister, who I must say is probably in my top 5 characters of the whole thing. I love her so much. And then seeing all them see their people, like, I'm so sorry. But this was the movie experience for me.
This is genuine. This is genuine, Angela. She could be a hard ass sometimes, but things like this really get to her.
Well, it's. I mean, those are the little moments, though. You know, those are the little moments that are the most important. Is that kind of stuff, and then and I'll tell you. And you have a sister, and you have a sister who sometimes, like I do, didn't always get along. Yes.
Nebula and Gamora.
The stuff between Nebula and Gamora when she reaches for her hand and she takes it. It's so beautiful, and it's one of those moments that's funny because it's like that was one that my son and my husband, neither of them really reacted to. But for me, for a woman with a sister, it's, you know.
I have always I loved that development between them over the last 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah.
And it just came full circle. At first, she was just a villain to me, but she's becoming one of my favorite characters. She's just kind of a silent, strong person. You don't have to know a lot about her other than the fact that, you know, she's very passionate about saving her sister. It's not about revenge for her because she did not want to kill her father.
No.
Even though all the horrible things he did to her. And I think I admire that about her as well, because of all the people who should have like a lot of animosity towards him, it's Nebula. She doesn't, when she has a chance, take revenge.
Also, I think that you could almost examine this from a psychological standpoint. Can you imagine coming face to face with a younger version of yourself who's a complete dumbass? Especially in this situation, which is super extreme, that she like literally killed herself. She literally got to go, hey, you're an idiot. I'm going to kill you. It's like, I don't know. I there's some sort of catharsis in that, I think. You know, the getting rid of the old.
That's right. It's symbolic in a way.
It is.
Where she sheds that part of herself.
Yeah, like really does. It's just so cool because there's so many of those type of stories. But that's what's so nuts about this is the scope of it, right? One of the reasons we didn't cover Infinity War is because it had rolled on top of us. Like, we weren't caught up on anything. And you watched it, and then I didn't even watch it till like a few months later. Like, I was just out of it with whatever it is that was going on in my life at the time. And I just couldn't, but because I watched Infinity War and I was definitely a big fan of, the other movies and finally saw Captain Marvel, like then I was in. We've been pretty good about Star Wars, about being on top of things, but this just kind of rolled up on us a little too fast and we just couldn't keep up, even as good as we are at being nerds. But anyway, so this was definitely worth it. I'm trying to think of any other little moments. I mean, it was very cool for Scott to find his daughter even before when he first woke up. That was very, very cool to me. some of the other quiet moments, like Captain America being in the support group or leading the support group. I think it was a veterans center, actually, because I got to kind of study it a little more this last time. And one thing that I noticed that Russell got happy crying was when Thor saw his mother. She said, "Oh, so you came to see the the smartest person in the world." And then Russell reached over and said, "I love you, Mom."
Oh,
oh, dude. And so that was really sweet. And it was also cool. Right after Thor talked to his mother, that's kind of when he started feeling better.
he needed his mom.
He needed his mom. He did, Jen.
He needed his mom to heal.
Healing.
To heal. Yeah.
It's so interesting how talking about Nebula and then talking about Thor, all these symbolic things that are happening that so many different people can relate to. Trauma, abuse, loss, making a bad decision and having to live with it, losing your brother, losing your world. And it's interesting to me too how everything that Rocket went through in The Last Guardians, that kind of prepared him to be able to kind of slap Thor around and be like, get it together.
He was a leader in this movie.
He was. And I was telling Jim one of my favorite little moments too was when they're getting the Iron Man glove ready, with the stones. And who are the three minds? Iron Man, Hulk.
The three what?
The three minds, the minds,
yes.
The guys who are really doing this, the guys who put all the stuff together. Mm-hmm. Iron Man, Hulk, and Rocket. There's something to love about that. And he even says, "You're a smart guy, but you're only smart here on Earth."
Also, Black Widow. Whenever who was it who said things, this is really weird or whatever, and she's like, "You're telling me I'm taking messages from a raccoon."
I get emails from a raccoon. Yeah.
And speaking of Black Widow,
yes.
I did not. I should have.
Nope.
I should have. I did not expect that.
I didn't expect it.
And I knew as soon as they got there, one of them was, but I did not know that was.
I reject it, Jen. I reject it.
How do you reject it? Why?
I just reject it.
Is that the thing that you were upset about?
There are two things I'm upset about, and this is the primary one. I thought I would watch it again and I would get more clarity, but this is my thing. When I first watched it, I thought that it was sort of ambiguous. Okay, well, here's where it is. This is where you have to get it. Nebula says, this is where it is. This is where you have to get it. Then they seemed pretty shocked when they got there. And Red Skull is like, yeah, by the way, soul for a soul, one of you is going to have to die, right? So they seem kind of really shocked when one of them has to make the decision and they have that big fight and blah, blah. We know how it ends. Well, Nebula says, while they're all talking, in the meeting where they have that big montage of them writing notes down about where all of the stones are and where they need to go, right?
Yeah.
She says point blank, that is where my father killed my sister and then came back with the stone. So it is pretty clear before they even make the plan that somebody's going to die there. Nebula doesn't really mince words about it.
But she didn't really go into a lot of detail. But maybe it's because she didn't know.
I agree. I agree with you because the first time I watched it, I thought, well, maybe it was unclear. No, the way that she puts it in the scene, it's very clear what she means. And Black Widow and Hawkeye are not idiots. But the funny thing is that I read an interview today with the Russo brothers who made it very clear that neither of them knew when they got there that somebody was going to have to die, which goes against the writing. Anyway, so that's why I reject it. I just reject it. I think Hawkeye should have been one to die. He turned into a serial killer.
But he was a vigilante who killed bad people.
I don't care.
And he had family. His family came back. And so...
I realize that. So...
I mean, Black Widow would have been traumatized forever if he had died. That was her buddy. He was like her brother. So making that sacrifice fulfilled the growth that she went through, coming from a background where she was the gray area bad guy. And she said that the Avengers gave her purpose, and she kind of fulfilled her purpose by sacrificing herself for a good cause, like Iron Man. You know, it's on the level of Iron Man. If she hadn't done that, they could not have won. They needed that stone. So,
well, they needed the stone, which is why Clint should have gone.
I know, but if Clint did it, his family now is back and he's gone. So that sucks.
I realize that, but the thing is that what he turned into, and he even makes this argument, Jen.
So
what
you don't think that anyone could turn their life around?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he made a conscious decision to go around the world killing people. He made the conscious decision to go do that. He says it to her. I have turned into something. You don't know what I turned into. So the thing is, I'm not saying he can't heal, and I'm not saying
I think you're missing something, because
Black Widow deserved to be at that last battle. She fought hotter than anybody else.
Let me finish. She has been where he is now. And because of him, she was able to turn her life around. What she did for him gave him that chance. Do you understand what I'm saying? So because of him, she was able to come from a horrible place as a horrible person and turn into a hero. And she just gave him a chance to change his life again. And yes, it sucked that she wasn't in the end battle. I don't want her to be dead, but it had to happen to get that stone. And one of them had to die, even though it's horrible. I feel like she did what she wanted to. That's within her character to do that.
I'm not saying, I think it was in their both of their characters to sacrifice for the other one. I really do believe that. I think that they went in 50-50. I don't think I'd be arguing as hard, but I think I'd be just as upset if it was Clint. But no, not really. It's 60-40. 60-40. Because
you just really love her.
I really love her.
Yes, I
understand. She just earned it, like really earned it. Now, I do believe storytelling-wise, by starting the movie with him losing his family and kind of ending the movie with him getting his family back, that was a good arc for him. And he wasn't even in the last movie, so that makes me kind of happy for him that he was kind of, that he was able to have a part in it. Because I was like, where's Hawkeye? I always thought that too. And so I agree with that. I guess it just feels, the idea of sacrificing like that. Anyway, I think you're right, but I don't think that I have a bad argument for her. I get it, and I get why they made the decision. I don't disagree with you on principle. She just really earned a place at that last battle, and it just made me kind of sad. But there were no extraneous characters, so I think no matter who it would have been very sad. However, even though every single person has said she's definitely dead, Captain America went back and he had to return all of the stones. I just feel like all of the assertions that she was dead, totally dead, all happened before that.
I hope. I mean, I do hope that happens. That, he takes the hammer back too.
Yeah, he did, because he had to.
Comes back without it. When he's sitting on the bench and he hands.
Oh, how cool was that, Jen?
But Captain America, like I said, is my favorite character, and so that completion of his arc was super satisfying and well-deserved after all the service he provided to the world and the galaxy, to be able to go back in time and be with his Peggy and live his life with her.
He got to live happily ever
He
after.
did. And, he's married. I saw that ring finger, and he married her. So I wonder if they had children and if any of them would grow up to be superheroes because of their dad's DNA coursing through their body and their mom being Peggy Carter. So.
I don't know. But I also do think he did give the shield to Nightwing.
That's true.
So, and also I have a theory about that. I think Bucky knew. Mm-hmm. No, he's at the end with him and Nightwing.
Yeah.
And Hulk. And then he's the one who notices him on the bench. And I've seen a couple of theories, and I kind of have my own thoughts. I think that Tony's dad knew and Peggy knew, because the thing is that he's been living this whole time. He lived his life with Peggy in the same timeline.
Where his frozen self was still frozen.
Right. I think that somehow Bucky knew that old man him was there somewhere. Because of the way he reacted, he didn't seem surprised.
No, he didn't, I think he knows. I think he was surprised because he knows his character. I mean, that's his best friend. He just knows that that's what he would do, because Bucky was captured by Hydra.
Right. And that's one thing where I've seen a couple people on the internet say stuff about how could he have gone back and not tried to save Bucky?
Because of the Prime Directive.
Well, it's so funny that
because Captain America would not mess with the Prime Directive.
No, I agree, but also because then he knew that they already won. So it's like the future becomes a past, becomes the future. And I loved all of the back and forth about time travel.
Yes.
Killed me. I mean, Ant-Man's kind of entering my top 5 characters as well. Like, he's awesome. I love the part where he's all, flick me. That's America's ass. I love it. That's so funny.
We forgot to talk about Hulk.
Paul Rudd. Right. Okay, so this is my opinion of that, is I agree with Valkyrie when she was like, I kind of liked you either of the other ways. But I did think, and Jim said that's an actual character from the comics, is Combo Hulk.
Okay.
That's like a real thing, and there's like comics of it. I don't know. Jim knows more about that stuff than I do. But also my thought was, and I didn't think of this until my second pass, you know how he says at the end when he has the gauntlet, or he's about to put the gauntlet on?
Yeah.
And do the snap back or whatever? He says specifically, I was meant to do this. So this is the thing, is that Hulk is the only one strong enough to deal with the physical effects of the gauntlet.
Right.
But Hulk would not have been able to snap with intention. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So Bruce had to be there to snap with intention, so either one of them wouldn't have been able to do it. But a Combo Hulk Bruce is the only creature who could possibly do what he did. He was also injured, That made that possible, as much as I was a little freaked out by the whole
I thought he was hilarious taking selfies with kids. It was
that was cute. I mean, they played it off okay, and also his interaction with the Ancient One at the time temple or whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I mean, she's so cool, Tilda Swinton.
I know. It finally dawned on me that she was the White Witch from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Oh, yeah. And I was just like, I guess when I watched Doctor Strange, I was like, why does she look familiar? And then I just recently rewatched The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe after years and years. And I was like, that's who she is. Because she just kind of reminds me of the woman who plays the Borg Queen for some reason. She
does kind of have that. But yeah, Tilda Swinton has a really, and similar to Alice Craig, I guess, it's a very kind of ethereal, translucent quality to them.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for the roles, that she gets picked for. I don't know. I've always found her very interesting and very intentional as an actress, and so perfect for something like this, a transcendent being, basically. And I love how she very casually, I love the interactions with her and with Frigga, because both of them were like, yeah, so you're from the future. You're about 5 years too early. And I love when Thor's mom is like, tell me the truth. And he's like, I'm totally from the future.
Yeah, she wasn't surprised. She's like,
I was raised by witches. It's all right, baby. But no, so the time lady was like, yeah, you're about 5 years too early, so move along. But she had to be there.
I just wanted to add that Bruce Banner's attempt at time travel, it not being in his wheelhouse, is hilarious and perfect, because obviously, I mean, he could be smart in one thing and not smart in the other. And the scene where, Ant-Man comes back as a baby and then an old man and then back and forth. And yeah.
And there's the line where he's like, I peed my pants. I don't know if it was baby me or old me or me.
Or both.
Me.
Yeah.
But see, that's what's so good about these films, is that they have those humor moments too. So
yeah, you have to, because it's so heavy. I mean, otherwise there has to be fun to balance with the traumatic drama that is in these movies.
Yeah. So the wrap-ups, though, we got to see everybody. So we know everybody who's back because of the funeral, right? And we know that Pepper has a fully functioning Iron Man suit that she can totally take care of business in, which makes me very happy. And Jim says that's from the comics as well, that she has a suit. Let's see. The Guardians are back together. However, since the Gamora that's back, she's still good, because she was always good. She was always not going to fight for Thanos, by that point, which is why, she did what she did. But she doesn't know any of them because she's not from the same time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's interesting that Nebula is now the member of the crew instead of Gamora. And of course, Gamora, we don't know where she is. But that was also a funny moment when he was like, oh my gosh, Gamora. And then she kicks him in the nuts. And he goes, well, you missed the first time, but then the second time you got both of them. That was such a Guardians moment too, like how they were able to do the different, because all the different movies have a little bit of a different clip, like a different writing style. And the Guardians, I think in particular, has a very specific type of, don't you agree? Like it has a very specific type of rhythm to it that's different, especially from the Avengers movies, because the Avengers movies are very grand and they take themselves very seriously and we're the Avengers, blah, blah, blah. And they have little funny moments, but it's still very grand. Whereas Guardians is very silly and intentionally silly. And so all of the interactions with Peter and with that crew and even some of the rocket stuff. And I noticed that James Gunn, who was the director of Guardians, was one of the executive producers of this movie. Mm-hmm. So I have to think that he probably helped guide some of that. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think I heard that he's coming back for the next one.
He is. They hired him back. Yes. The point is that he has a very special rhythm to the way that the Guardians movies are written. And so I feel like they were able to capture that in those scenes, Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, like a lot of the fighting, especially with the hammer and when he's like, no, I want the big one. Anyway, so back to the kind of wrap up.
The Spider-Man thing you were talking about?
Yes. So watch the trailer today. Very cool. One of the things that Happy says, he says, I have somebody we need to introduce you to. This is the quote. The snap created alternate timelines.
Oh.
Boom.
Someone can
says
come
that.
back. Or someone's.
Yeah. Yes. So the snap itself is when the alternate timelines got hit. Right?
Yeah.
So any number of things could be happening, not the least of which could be Loki somewhere in one of them. There could be one where Clint went over instead of Black Widow. Mm-hmm. The cool part about this is it opens the universe up to a lot of cool stuff, right?
They could revisit if anybody wanted to pop in for a cameo or, it kind of lends itself to that. That was very smart.
And reminds me of Parallels.
The multiverse kind of tied in, even though Marvel didn't do that, right? It was in association with Marvel, but it wasn't exactly a Marvel thing. Sony did that, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Did you see it?
Multiverse?
Into the Spider-Verse, the animated series. Did you watch it?
I don't think that's. I haven't seen it
because
yet.
that was also parallel timelines. So.
Right. Well, yes, but it's still. The point is that it's possible. Just like when we saw parallels in TNG, right? There already are a bunch of parallel universes. Now, in that theory, they're there, and you just can't necessarily get to them.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is that the snap created the parallel universe, which is interesting. I think that's very cool, and I'm super excited.
Yeah.
So, it just opens a lot of cool possibilities up. Yay.
So, we obviously really, really like this movie. And I have a feeling you did too, if you're listening to this. We would love to hear what your favorite points were. So write to us at girlygeeks@gmail.com. That's girlygeeks with a Z @gmail.com. Or call our voicemail line at 432-363-4742. What else do we have to say about this movie? You're more fresh on it since you've seen it twice and you just came from it this weekend. I saw it like a week and a half ago, so things were a little blurry for me as far as what happened. Because there was a lot going on. So
yeah.
Many good things about this movie.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something that I forgot, but it was mostly really cool.
Yeah. We were going to talk about time travel, as the next episode. We were talking about it in our disco episode.
I know. It's a big time travel thing.
Yeah. And so now I guess we'll just talk about time travel in the next episode because we forgot that we needed to watch Endgame and do a review on that. So that's why you're getting this first. But we did take a vote on Facebook to see what people wanted first because we recorded our Star Trek Discovery season finale episode first, and we were editing that, and then this came out, and we wanted to talk about it, and I was like, I'm just going to ask the people on Facebook. And they unanimously said, do it in chronological order.
Yes.
Just go first.
True. So another question I have to listeners, when you came out of the theater, what movie from the MCU did you want to go back and watch first? What was your first, like, oh, there was something I missed in, or that made me excited to rewatch X? So what would be your answer, Jen?
Iron Man 1. Because
really?
I stayed through the entire long credits, and at the very end was a very subtle hat tip to Iron Man 1, where he's making the suit. You hear the hammer, bang, 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 and that's it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it made me want to go, I need to go back and watch that. Aaron hasn't seen that movie. So
I had Russell watch Iron Man and Captain America, the first Avenger.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him watch those two movies before we did this. Like, not right before, but like in the last couple weeks. So those two were pretty fresh in my mind watching this as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to go back and watch Guardians because that's when you get all of the Infinity Stones explained.
Right.
And that was just the thing I thought about. I don't know. I love those movies. So they're like the most fun to watch, I think.
Well, we did cover that movie. So if you guys want to go back and listen to a review of that after you watch Guardians again, if that's the one you decide to go see, again.
So we want to know what you think.
Yeah.
What movie did you want to see?
Definitely. And also I wanted to say, I figured out how to take the filter off of our feed that limited us to 50 episodes in our feed. And now there's over 200 in the feed just since 2011. Woo! And because we've been podcasting since 2007, the rest of those are on our site in the archive. We've been reinserting them in the feed over the years, but there's still a whole lot up there that you can go check out. So I'm sorry if your device started downloading everything. It just hit me, Angela. We had 4,000 downloads in one day.
Oops.
After that, and it just hit me. All the subscribers were probably getting all those as new episodes, and I'm sorry if that happened to you. Whoopsie.
Listen to them.
Yeah, listen to them. You won't be disappointed, I don't think. There's a lot of gems in those.
There is.
I'm looking very much forward to seeing Spider-Man in July, right? Is it coming out in July? Yeah, coming back in a couple of more weeks to talk about time travel. We need to do some homework, though.
We do. There's a lot of homework involved.
Yes, because we're going to talk about how the current theories on the possibility of time travel, what those are, and how they tie in to certain science fiction properties, I guess, like Star Trek and Star Trek Discovery and
all the things.
Endgame and everything else that we can think of. If you have any ideas of stories and stuff that we should look at to bring in as an example, let us know.
I also am excited because I have a new take on Back to the Future that I've come to a different conclusion since we did the episode on it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about that.
I'm interested to hear it. Let's close this out. At the end of the credits in every episode, I've been putting outtakes. They're just extraneous conversations you might find interesting that we're putting at the end. There's sometimes up to 4 or 5 minutes. So listen all the way through for those. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say. Do you want to close us out?
I've exhausted my emotions and I've never been so torn about going to see a movie that I loved for the second time because I really wanted to see it, but 3 hours of that. And then first time I saw it, it's 3 hours. Plus when I came home, I was emotionally exhausted. My eyes were puffy. I did wear some new waterproof mascara that did not run. So I think there was a golden advertising opportunity that somebody very much lost.
You should put a link in the show notes to that brand.
I will.
Mascara, if anyone's interested.
In the show notes to the waterproof mascara that I wore. And I told Jim, I didn't do this on purpose, but I got it and it really worked. And I'm pretty proud of myself. I look beautiful. All right. Well.
This is Jen cutting in with a later recording. I just wanted to apologize for the late release on this episode. Both of our jobs were in flux, and we've been worried about that. So haven't had a lot of energy as far as putting together this show. Thank you so much for staying subscribed. I know you've heard a lot about our next episode being a time travel episode. I'm sorry we're putting that off just a little bit because I've been reading several books in preparation and it's taking a little longer than I thought it would. So we just want to make sure that that is as informative and entertaining as possible. The next episode we're doing will actually be a movie news, television news, and listener feedback episode. So we'll be reading your emails if you sent them to us recently. And you still have time to get those in if you want to send us some feedback or ask us questions. We love it when we hear from you. It's really why we do this, is so that we can interact with you. It's not just us liking the sounds of our own voices, because nobody does. So anyway, yeah, that's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll have our time travel episode. If you're looking for another podcast to listen to, check out the Star Wars Stacks. That's my other show. We typically review Star Wars books, but my co-hosts Chris and Joe have been rolling characters with me to play a Star Wars role-playing game. We've invited Rico Dosti from Treks and Sci-Fi and Angela to join us in that game. Make sure you go over to swstacksshow.com or subscribe to the show through Apple Podcasts or Stitcher Radio. And again, if you want to drop us a line to just say hi, we'd love that. And you can do that by heading over to anomalypodcast.com. That's ANOMALY podcast.com/contact. Thank you again for listening and for staying subscribed, and we will be back very soon, I promise.
Thank you for listening. My name is Angela.
And I'm Jen, and you've been listening to the Anomaly Podcast, the halfway point between Muggle and Geek. No, not that one.
I'll find the PG porn so that
put it in the show notes.
So that you don't have to search for it.
Yeah, definitely put it in the show notes too.
Because it's absolutely not X-rated. That's the comedy of it. Is that it's not X-rated at all.
Well, that's good.
And of course, people we love are in it too. So it's
Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion. Amazing. All right. Well, thank you. I'm glad we were able to do this, and I'll get the other one edited post haste.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Talk to you later. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Wait. What? I need to wait, right?
Yeah. Okay, mine might make you mad.
Oh no!
Not at me, but at the situation that I found myself in.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You want to bring us in today?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. I've been recording for 11 minutes, so we'll have to decide what in that conversation was okay to add.
Hold on just a second. What's up, baby? Am I too loud? Oh, I have to carry her to bed. Can you give me just a second? I'm going to go threaten to take her toys away if she doesn't go to sleep. Hold on.
I'm just kidding. I'd never do that. I would.
And I noticed that James Gunn, who was the director of Guardians, was one of the executive producers of this movie. Mm-hmm. So I have to think that he probably helped guide some of that. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think I heard that he's coming back for the next one.
He is. They hired him back. Yes.
I don't know what I don't remember what the controversy was, but
touched anyone or hurt anyone or cheated on anyone. He just said a couple of insensitive things on Twitter.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, which you shouldn't do, but compared to some of the other crap some other people have pulled, you know, it wasn't even, it was, I don't even know exactly what it was, but it was definitely there's times when I would say bring down hammers. In my opinion, that was not one of those times.
I think people are getting super sensitive about things these days. And
well,
it's
they
like,
get
burn him, and we get torches and we go after people when it's like one stupid thing they said, and then all of a sudden they don't have a job anymore and they can't show their face. That kind of stuff. It's it's getting a little tiresome.
There's words and there's actions too and that's where I kind of differ with him. You know, there's people that do a lot of things where they're perfect in some ways, but then their actions, actions speak louder than words. And just because he literally had a show on Spike TV where he did mini movies based on porn.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And, oh, no. You should go look them up. They're hilarious. They're called, it's all the things that you love about porn except the sex. And he has Nathan Fillion, the guy who plays Wash, a couple of other people that we would know, like comedy actors, and real porn stars, except for none, there's no sex. It's just really crappy acting. And it is really, really funny. I would look it up. I think it's called PG porn.
Okay.
PG porn or something like that. I'll find
obviously
it so you don't
not
have
something to watch at work.
No, it's not something to watch at work, but it is like, it has that like 70s music in the back.
Chicka bear bear, chicka bear bear.
And like, I think the girl, like there's one, and it's again like actual porn stars, and I think it's one that James Gunn is actually in where he plays like a mechanic. And the girl, the sexy girl comes in and she's like, well, how can I repay you? And he's like, well, I'd like a sandwich. And then he makes, and she's like, well, do you mean your penis or something? And he's like, no, that would be really weird. I think he says, that would make you a whore. And she's like, oh, so it's comedy. That's the point, is that it's comedy. So somebody who's doing comedy like that might say something ridiculous on Twitter. Yeah, I think so. But anyway.